Is anybody here, I know we do a lot of development outside for other customers and contracting work and stuff like that. Does anybody here support LabVIEW code inside their own company and do operations work? How many people, if you want to raise your hand, you can. 2 people around here? Okay, I do a lot of that. My primary responsibility is maintaining production test systems for the company, for my corporation, for the company I work for. And has anybody here been slowed down by the IT process in revving your software inside of your own corporation? Anybody want to raise their hand on that? Yeah. I'll raise both. I ran into this problem, and so that's the reason why I titled this PPLs and Better Ops Experience of how to avoid calling the help desk. The problem that I was trying to solve, and I'll show you the software to solve this problem here in a second, is one, trying to get IT involved. That adds a lot of overhead and slows the process down, and makes things a lot more expensive. Also, because I wanted to move to a much more iterative process and do smaller feature adds as well, and because if you get that IT involved, it makes a lot more sense to do large feature adds. It's going to take a lot of overhead. It takes less overhead. You can get some smaller deployments, and then everybody probably knows here, operations support is really expensive. It takes up your own time. You're not doing development, and then it takes up everybody else's time because a lot of time you have production downtime as well. So again, reduce operations overhead, and then create a standard deployment method that would reduce the amount of user experience changes that we had to do at the time, minimum learning curve for both any developers that I was going to give this software to, and then also for the people who are going to be using it out on the production floor, and then also reduce or manage, at the very least, manage the number of help desk tickets that I was generating by just asking for IT's support. So how do you accomplish this goal? Normally, if you pack all your software inside of the program files folder in Windows, you have to have admin rights to modify that folder, right? You need admin rights to edit that folder. Does anybody use the program data folder as a support folder for their software? This is fairly common. Yeah, right, a lot of hands. So one of the things that you can do is if you want to be able to modify your software or make updates to your software using pack project libraries, you can store your pack project libraries in the program data folder and then modify and edit them at that location. So this is exactly what I did inside for my deployments, and this is the software launcher. So basically in the executable folder, you have a launcher that is modified by an INI file or configured by an INI file to go do some job, which is to launch your software. And then your pack project libraries really are where all your source code lives and all your the actual workhorse of your program. So what you're seeing here is just a INI file. This is the configuration data. So this is pulling off the locations of both the local pack project libraries where you're actually going to launch your source from, the remote locations, and then what you're actually launching your starting VI, so whatever you're booting to. And then at this point right here, we go and look and see if there's been any updates. Again, one of our goals, we want to reduce the amount of operations time. One way to do that is to have a software master that you're working from, and then being able to automatically update to that software master. That's exactly what we're doing here, comparing software versions and making a decision on if there's any work we need to do on file changes and updates. And then the last thing we do is we go find from that pack project library, we find our starting VI, and then we just do a dynamic launch. So why do it this way? Well, one of the benefits of this is not only do you get to be able to edit your pack project libraries and get around some of those admin requirements and IT help desk requirements that can slow things down a little bit, but also when you do that update, at this point, because you're dynamically launching that VI, you're loading that PPL after you've made all your modifications from your master, you know every single time you start your software, the user's going to have the most recent version of their code available to them at that point. They don't have to reboot their software, it just works the first time. So what are the results of this? How does this work? So I've been able to maintain operations support at about a 15%. That's kind of the goal I'm trying to aim for. I'm pretty happy with that. So everything else is dev work, about 15% operations work. And I've gotten a lot of positive customer feedback from that. This is an example of how this whole process works, and it's a little bit longer than we have time for because this goes through the whole unit testing process and everything involved with that. But I do want to show you a little bit of what actually happens at the end here so you can see the user experience. So what you're seeing here at the beginning is this is just a basic calculate function. The add function doesn't work properly, it's broken. So the user might provide some feedback, say, hey, our function isn't working right, and then I or whatever developer would go through the process of doing the development and the changes, and then we run the unit testing on it just to verify we haven't broken anything, which is what you're seeing here is the deployment unit testing part of this whole process. And I clicked on the wrong thing there. And then here at the end, right about at this point, you'll see when the user gets a new update, they would just see, wait for it. There it is. So this is what they would see at the end. So if they get an update for their software, they get a prompt when they complete their program. You have a new version. Would you like to update to that version? If they say yes, then it goes ahead and does the update. If they say no, then they can maintain their current version. What are some disadvantages to this? There's probably, you guys are probably already thinking in the back of your head, there's some pretty significant security risks involved here, just because you are getting around. The great part about this, you're getting around the admin requirements. The bad part about it is you're also getting around the admin requirements. So you would definitely want to think about that, at least doing some kind of, currently everything I'm doing is internal and there's not a whole lot of risk involved in that, but if you had some possibility of people being able to access your PPLs and maliciously launch software with this tool, you definitely want to do some hashing or code checking to make sure that that wasn't happening at launch time.
You can digitally sign PPLs, just FYI.
What's that?
You can digitally sign PPLs.
That's a good idea.
Make sure all that stuff works before you launch them.
Thank you. That's a really good idea. So, but I just wanted to show you guys that because it's kind of a useful way of getting around that admin requirement. And if you have a situation where that works for you, again, they don't always, this is solve every problem, but it solves some problems. And it looks like I'm out of time. So, thanks guys.